Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Thank you again for joining yet another episode of In the Limelight, where we at CameraStuff we interview up and coming and professional photographers, so you can get a bit of insight as to what they get up to in this South African industry. So, without further ado, we are going to introduce Leslie, who we are going to talk to tonight. So, without further ado, let's pull it in. Hello there, Leslie. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. No load shedding tonight, so I'm good.
Yeah, at least not yet, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have to carefully plan all of these lives around load shedding. It's a bit of a nightmare, but yeah, we're certainly making it work.
Yes.
And hopefully to the audience out there, hopefully you don't have load shedding as of yet. And you have joined us for this chat. So as always, if you have any commentary or questions to ask, do drop them in the comment section and they'll display here on the right hand side. So keep your comments clean and we'll get to them as we go along. So I have a bunch of questions to ask from my side. First up, I want to ask you about your setup at the moment. So it looks quite professional with the lighting and the backdrop. Do you want to tell us what you have going on there?
um, the thing is with me, I only started, I think it was 2020 with my setup. I wasn't actually a studio photographer, so the setup that I have at the moment is I tell everyone it's not the best, but I work with what I got. So at the moment I love shooting with the Godox MS 200. Um, I
Sure.
think I think it's a basic thing to use, and I think for now it's the best to use. And then the other thing I love to use is the Godox Deep Parabolic Softbox.
Sure.
It's also a nice one to use. So I usually use just one setup, light setup. I don't usually
Mm-hmm.
use three or two setups. So I think it's kind of the way I like my photos to look, in a way
Yes,
of I only
absolutely.
use the one softbox and the one strobe.
Yeah, something I definitely noticed about your work, the minimalist lighting and something that you have created a brand and a style with. It certainly resonates with me personally. I don't know about anybody else. But yeah, it's not always the best idea to use like three or four lights. Like you can use that number of lighting, but only if the plan requires it. But what you're doing at the moment, I'm going to show the audience. So instead of me talking about it, let's have a look at what you are capable of. And we'll talk about these images one by one in a little bit to gain some insight as to how these photos were created. But yeah, just for the time being, let's just show our audience how talented you are. Also, some behind the scene footage, and we'll get to this in a moment. All right, so in terms of camera, what do you have now and what did you start off with?
Okay, so I'm using currently the Canon 90D as well.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have I think about 2 years ago, the Canon 77D, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too much cameras, but I started off with the Canon. Don't even know if people know that camera. It's the Canon, I think 1100D, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's kind of like I always tell people, it's not actually the camera, it's the person
Yes.
itself. So, um, but the Canon D is doing a very good job. So I'm very very pleased to have that camera at the moment.
All right, so welcome to JB Roman from Goodman Pictures. I'm here ready to learn. Beautiful work sought earlier. Thank you for joining, Jay. And
Thank you,
anybody else
JB.
joining? We have a big crowd at the moment. Yeah, so do introduce yourself in the comment section. Tell me where you're from. And we'll show that on the pictures here. And that's the reason why we're doing all of this stuff live is interaction with you guys. So, question I have: what inspired you to become a photographer?
It's a basically it's a quick answer to this. I'm not going to too much into it. Um, like I feel when I see get inspired, I want to inspire other photographers. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's basically it. Um, I want other photographers to look at my work and feel inspired. So I think that's the biggest thing. I don't
Mm.
actually have something else to say, but yeah. other photographers have to feel inspired when they look at my work.
Now, it's a very big topic, that of being inspirational and being inspired at the same time. And it's a good zone to be in as a photographer. Yeah, so certainly commendable if that is your orientation within the industry, is to have something to say and to be listened to, but also at the same time, grab inspiration from others as well. As I said, it's a very good zone to be in. So I want to ask you about your setup there now at the moment doing this live. So I see the pink backdrop there. Do you have ring
No,
light?
it's it's not professional lighting. I just use the ring light in front of me, and then on the side I have also a kind of a, I can't even explain this. It's kind of a video type of light. So that's the only thing I'm using, and then it's the paper backdrop at the back, the kind of red pink. So I
Mm-hmm.
think because I didn't know what to use for the live, so I don't do videos. So I just kind of compromised what I have and make it work.
What's your experience with different backdrops? Have you tried out different types of material? Because I see you're a big fan of the paper. So what's your experience like using the paper, and have you tried anything else?
I started off just with the vinyl, the black and the white, and then I started experimenting with the paper because I really like the paper. It kind of gives that dramatic look to the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm currently also, I think about a year ago, I started painting my own backdrops because I also
Okay.
love the texture of the backdrop that it's giving the picture. So I just recently bought also a painted backdrop at, I think it was at Backdrop SA,
Mm-hmm.
just to see how it works as well, because I really like the kind of texture it's giving the picture as well. So, but the paper is doing a very good job, so I'm currently shooting on that. Most of the pictures I take is on the paper backdrops.
All right. So if you want to stay in touch with Leslie, her socials, those links are dropped in the comment section. So Instagram and Facebook, but also her website. So you can see here. So leslielesch.com. So you have your website going here. So for people to follow you, just check out the links in the comment section. So I have a question about the website. How important do you think it is to have a website as a photographer?
Honestly, I think it's one of the most important things for photographer to have because you can put all your work on there, and I think it's like a profile for you. When people ask, I mean, a lot of places I've entered competitions and um, like websites or anything, magazines, they usually ask a website, and I think it's a perfect place to showcase yourself as well, like your profile.
Mm.
It's I think it's a very important space for you as a photographer. So it's a need and a must have.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of a portfolio, it's the best way of putting yourself out
Yes.
there as well. Instagram and Facebook, all of these social platforms may do the trick, but it doesn't always
Yeah.
showcase your best work immediately. And as they say, you're only as good as your last few shots. So you don't want, the dare I say, the worst of your photos to be on top. Yep, so certainly having a website, you can display your best images. And in terms of setting up a portfolio, definitely to have a website. I don't know if you're doing this already, but are you using your website to track people's behavior in terms of adding to cart and stuff like that, or is that still in the pipeline?
No, it's still coming. I'm still busy
Mhm.
with my website. I only started now with it to make it look more professional and stuff. So it's a lot of work, but it's coming along. So I think along the lines it will come forward.
All right, perfect, Josh. So it's definitely advisable. Website certainly number one, and yeah, so you can see people's behavior on it as well. So there's a good way of gauging um, how people interact with not only you but the website, obviously as well.
Yeah.
So, question I have is, how would you describe your photographic style, the branding that you have, and how it sets you apart from everyone else?
Um, well, Conrad, I like to be different. I don't
Mm.
like to be like, let's say, other photographers. I want my work to be something else. So I have obviously people I look up to, like Lara Jade, Sue Bryce, and
Mm-hmm.
Felicia Reed. But the thing is, you have people you look up to, but you don't want your work to look exactly like their work. So I
Mm,
always try to, I feel inspired by them, but I don't try to copy what they do.
mm,
So I usually just, how can I say this? I usually try to do my own thing,
mm,
and my style is, I would explain it as a very deep, and because I love dark photography and especially black and white,
mm-hmm,
I think it gives a more darker and meaning to the pictures. And I don't know, I just love dark pictures. So
mm.
yeah, I would say basically that. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have your personality shine in your images as well,
Yes.
and to avoid copying what other people are
Yeah.
doing, because I think the audience can see inauthenticity, can see if something is not genuine or true
Yeah.
to yourself. Yeah, so it's definitely a good step as a photographer to have yourself reflected in your work, because I think as artists, I think that is basically art in a nutshell. It is about personalities, having
Yeah.
a thing to say, having something to put out there in the world. And there's certainly things that people gravitate towards. Yeah. So certainly as a photographer, get yourself in your images in a manner of speaking in terms of reflecting you, who you are as a person. All right. So question here, our very first question from the audience. Thank you, Jay. So let's pop that up. How much time do you spend on processing pictures, and how do you deal with clients that want pictures the very next day?
Okay. At this moment, it depends on how I feel after a shoot. I normally take a day off. The day to take the pictures, I take off, and then I'll start the next day editing the pictures or so. I'm currently working with a retoucher, so I think it makes
Hmm.
my work easier because then I don't have to sit all the time with editing, you know. It takes a lot of a photographer's time to edit pictures. And yeah, I had a lot of clients, almost most of my clients, they want their pictures the next day. And it's difficult for them to explain that they can't have the pictures now because it has to go through a whole process before they
Hmm.
can get it. And I think I don't know how to explain this, but they kind of have a way of, I want the pictures, you have it on your camera, can't you just copy and send it on
Hmm.
WhatsApp or anything? But I feel like you can see the pictures, the end product, because at the end of the day, that's the product you want and are paying
Hmm.
for. So yeah, it's a difficult thing when it comes to clients that want the pictures the next day.
Yeah, I think all of us as photographers have
Yeah.
experienced that. Clients wanting the images the next day. So is it something that you established with the clients beforehand? Like, do you have a clause in a contract, or is it just a quote unquote gentleman's agreement to say, hey, it's going to take one or two or whatever amount of time?
I normally after a shoot, I will tell a client, you're gonna have to wait probably 3 days, depends on how I
Mm,
feel, 3 to 5 days perhaps for your pictures. But as you know, a lot of clients they always come afterwards, like my brother or my sister or my mother wants to
mm.
see the pictures. Can you please just send one or those type of clients. So it's always going to. I think it's always going to be like that.
So it's interesting that you have a retoucher. Do you think that's good advice to give photographers? Instead of taking all responsibilities from point A to Z, to have somebody to collaborate with you in terms of retouching. And how did you go about finding that retoucher? To make sure that this person is on the same page as what you are.
It was kind of difficult because in my career, I always wanted to have a retoucher because
Mm,
as a photographer, I personally don't like retouching work. It's kind
mm,
of for me, it's a process that I don't like, and I know there's a lot of people out there that does it for a living. So this one retoucher, she's from Russia actually, and she just inboxed me one day because I had one, but I wasn't too sure to use her because it's your work and you don't want anyone to retouch your work and stuff.
mm,
So I gave her a go and I told her, okay, I'm going to send you one picture. I just want to see what she's going to do with it. And then she sent it back to me and I was like, wow, she actually did a very, very good job. And I was impressed because I couldn't do it the way she did it. And I thought to myself, well, why not get a retoucher that actually do it like the professional way, and it does make your pictures look very, very nice. So for me personally, if I would give photographers advice, if you want to spare time away from the computer, you have a lot of, I mean, we have a lot of shoots um, and a lot of other things to give our attention to as well. So I feel like it's an extra, but it's a very good extra to take time away from you sitting in front of the computer editing work. So I think it's a good thing to have as a retoucher. And if you find a perfect person, it's most greatest thing ever. So yeah.
Absolutely. Having that retoucher available, it also creates a short turnaround time in terms of editing as well. So certain photographers take weeks, if not months, to complete their
Yeah.
edits, and it does impact the industry as a whole because it creates this, unfortunately, the stereotype that photographers take a very long time to edit, and I don't think that's good for the industry. So to have a retoucher on hand, to give the work to and to have a short turnaround time, that's certainly works in terms of a business model as well. So certainly having that short turnaround time, I think you're doing very well in that regard. Right. So another question I have. So in terms of the entire process, can you walk us through your process for planning? So how do you get your clients on the same page in terms of styling and wardrobe, what the style of the photo shoot is going to be? So how do you create those expectations and planning beforehand?
Okay, normally when a client books me, I will ask them about backdrops. Do they have a theme they want to go towards to? They will send me ideas of what they specifically want. And then we kind of do a whole of, okay, I can do this for you. Perhaps you want something like this. But yeah, it's a process of you want your client to be happy. You don't want to put them in a space of you want to do that and they don't want to do that. So yeah, I basically ask them, okay, theme, I works towards themes. So I think, yeah, that's the basic thing that I do is because it's easier for me, then I can see what ideas I can throw around and do specific things with the theme they gave me.
How do you wrangle a client that has like polar opposite ideas as to what you want to do? So you obviously have your style, your branding that you want to protect. So how do you deal with a client that wants like very different work done?
To be honest, I had a few clients that um, the thing is I don't do outdoors, and I lost a lot of clients because of that. Um, because sometimes they want to do like an outdoor scene, and then I tell them, okay, I can do this in indoor, basically indoor outdoor for you, but they don't really understand that, so it's kind of difficult to compromise in a way with them. um, but yeah, at the end of the day, you have to set your client to them to be happy. So yeah, difficult to explain, yeah, but
That's fine.
yeah, sometimes they kind of don't want it that way. It's not always that your clients are happy, but yeah, like for instance, if I say black and white, that I had a client before that I did a picture, I edited black and white because I told her when I was shooting that, okay, this would look nice black and white, and I think, yeah, obviously it would look the best. And I sent it to her, it looked very, very nice. And she told me, yeah, but she wanted the color. So in a way, I had to kind of make it work. And I was like, okay, I have to send the color now because she wants the color. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's the happiness of your client. You can't
Yes.
just get your way in a way. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to balance, in terms of protecting your brand and style versus clients' expectations and whatnot. These are the trials and tribulations of being a photographer, and this is something that we all need to manage, as we prod along with our careers. Was there any challenges that you had starting out, maybe even challenges today that you have, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, I'm currently, the thing is, I'm currently in a very small town, and I think I would say, I'm not sure now. I think there's like two other studio photographers in Worcester, and I think I'm six, if I'm not sure now, I'm a third photographer. A lot of these photographers gave up on studio photography because the thing is, people don't really get studio photography the
Mm.
way we see it. Like I told you just now, a lot of clients come to me and ask me, do I do outdoors?
Mm.
Um, and that's when I lose clients because they don't really understand studio photography. So at the moment, I'm struggling with my client base because people don't really want to book studio photography. So I think that is kind of the biggest challenge for me is the fact that studio photography is, I wouldn't say accepted here where I'm living, but they don't really get it. And the thing is, I'm not at that point where I want to give up my
Mm.
as I'm a studio photographer. I don't want to give that
Mm.
up to do something else because I really want to do this. And that's why I'm also moving in a different direction to continue with what I'm doing. And I think, like you asked me now, that the most difficult part for me at this moment as a photographer is my branding that people don't
Mm.
really, they don't really get it. So it makes my work as well very difficult. Um, to be successful in a way. So I think, yeah, I think that's the most challenging thing
Mm.
I have so far in my career as a photographer.
So it's quite an interesting point, people not gravitating towards studio photography. Do you have a suspicion as to why? Is it just a case that outdoor photography is so abundant and people just want the same thing? Because I don't want to think that studio photography is becoming outdated. Do you think it's just a preference thing, or do you have a suspicion that it's something else?
I don't want to mention things that people gonna hate me on or anything.
Okay, fair enough.
Um, the thing is, I don't want my town, my hometown, to look bad or anything. It's just the fact that people don't want to pay for what they see. And I think
Mm.
studio photography is more expensive than outdoors, or you understand.
Mm.
And I don't know quite how to put this, but because I lost a lot of clients because they always come to me and ask, okay, they want to book a studio shoot. And as soon as I send my pricing, they're like, okay, now I'm backing out because I don't want to pay that amount.
Mm.
But what they also must understand is the fact that all the work that goes into
Yeah, of
studio
course, yeah.
photography, because it's a lot of editing and detail that's in the pictures. It's not just the picture that's
Mm.
taken. I mean, outdoors is a different story because you don't do. I'm not defending it. I'm not doing anything here to say something against people that do outdoors.
Yeah, of
It's
course,
just
yeah.
that studio photography has a lot of concentrating on detail, specific
Mm.
detail, where outdoors is a lot of you can just take the picture and do here and there editing, where a lot of things go into studio photography itself. It's the lighting, it's everything
Mm.
that goes in there, the editing, and that all add up to a specific price, and it
Mm.
obviously it's a lot of money. So I think at the end of the day, it's just about it's too expensive, I would say, in a way.
No, it
So
makes perfect sense. A studio shoot, in terms of wardrobe and styling, every
yeah,
little extra details that come into the equation. Yeah, as long as you're not, retreating away from your price. No, it's just a matter of persisting at what you're doing. Because as I said, it's worthwhile protecting your brand and your style, and persisting with it. Eventually, it's gonna, all the puzzle pieces will fall into place. So,
yeah.
how do you stay creative and in terms of coming up with new ideas? Like, how do you stay on top of the ball?
Well, what I do normally is I I watch a lot of videos. I
Hmm.
s- I go through Pinterest. I had this other idea. I think we're gonna get to that. It was a shoot I did. I think a few weeks back. I saw this idea because I think most of the photographers I saw did it actually. It's like with the foil paper and it actually looked nice. So most of my ideas and stuff come from Pinterest, and then I try to
Mm.
compromise in a way. So yeah, I love watching videos as well. That's also very inspiring. Um, yeah, and I game a lot, so from the gaming I also get ideas or see something that is very nice, and I want to try something in kind of in that way. So yeah, and obviously movies and stuff. It's kind of um, creating a scene in your mind
Mm.
that you think like, I want to create something like that in that way. So yeah, I think that's kind of the most inspiring
Mm.
thing.
Yeah, it's good old fashioned Pinterest, and there's a lot of inspiration to be found there. Yeah, it's also movies. That's certainly how I started. A bit of a movie nut myself. It's a good place to find bits and pieces of information because obviously you watch movies that you like, and you kind of see bits and pieces that really gravitate or resonate with
Yeah.
you. So it's a perfect place to find sources of inspiration. So I think what we can do now is have a look at your images. So let me just pull up that slideshow. All right. So what we can do here is talk about these images. So in terms of the entire process, lighting, equipment used, what inspired you to create these shots. So basically the floor is yours. So you just want to give us a bit of a rundown as to how
Okay,
you went about creating these photos.
the image on the, I think this is on the right side of my, yeah, it's on the right side. The one with the pearls, it's actually called Men in Pearls.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a funny story behind this one because I did this actually a few weeks back, and I actually didn't know what I was going to do until the day I actually did it. So I asked this model to come. We were supposed to do a fashion shoot, and he ended up coming. And I actually, the morning before he came, I took out the pearls that I had, and I
Mm-hmm.
was getting the idea of using pearls, and I had the blazer, and I had this pearl kind of looking pearls that I put on his face. And I was just like thinking, okay, men in pearls, because nowadays men do wear pearls. So I was thinking like
Mm-hmm.
doing something kind of in that vibe. And I used like a light setup for that, um, to make it more like look dramatic in a way. And then the one on the left side, um, I did a butterfly shoot before, so I used those butterflies for the specific shoot because the model actually wanted to do like a butterfly kind of vibe. And then when came to the editing, it actually is a red backdrop. But I prefer to make it more black and white because you had like the black eyeshadow, so I wanted it to kind
Mm.
of look more dramatic in a way. So I thought maybe the black and white looked better for me. But yeah, it was kind of a 1 day plan thing. I didn't plan to do any of this. So we just did it off like in a way of we're going to do this, and that was the end result of it all.
Now, certainly a hallmark of a very talented and creative photographer to kind of think on your feet like that. So, not doing what you planned to do a couple of days beforehand. So, on a day, you came up with all of these ideas and to implement that perfectly as what you did with these terrific results here. That's very commendable. So, I do find these images very fascinating. The butterflies. So, where did you buy those butterflies? I'm assuming they're not real.
No, they're not real. I actually bought them at this clothing company online. I think they call it Shine or something.
Hmm.
Because they actually have very nice accessories. Like the pearls. I think the pearls broke, the other pearls. So I think that chain it kind of broke, and but I bought it there. So but they have a lot of nice accessories. So I bought the butterflies there in and the pearls. So yeah, it's basically that.
No. Okay, so it is a rule of contrast that the brightest part of an image will stick out against a darker backdrop, and it is perfectly exemplified with these images. So the dark and gritty style that you have certainly works here. In terms of
Yeah.
composition, the eye goes directly where you want it to go. So it's very awesome work using the one light source. As I said earlier, people want to use four, five, six different lights. Certainly can do that approach, but only when absolutely required to do that. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it, because, as we can see here, using one light source, that is certainly good enough. All right, so let's have a look at the next bunch. All right, so black and white again. So do you want to give us a rundown as to what went on here?
Okay, this was taken, I think, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. This was actually not supposed to happen, the picture. What
All
happened
right.
was I was shooting a video, and I had another photographer with me. He actually helped me with the throwing of this whole thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's a blanket, it's kind of like a thing we used, a type of material thing we used.
Mm-hmm.
And we just threw the whole thing the whole time to get shots in. And when I got to editing, I went through all the work and I saw this piece. It actually was not a black backdrop. So what happened here is it was the thing you used was actually yellow, and the
Mm-hmm.
backdrop was white. So I
Oh,
was
wow.
thinking in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, let's just see how black looks, because I actually like the picture more in black, the backdrop. So I changed it into black, and I know a lot of people don't like editing the way I would say huge editing, but it did the trick, and I basically did here and there a few things just to make it more dramatic. So it's kind of like his head is like underneath the blanket kind of
Mm.
thing. Yeah, and yeah, it wasn't supposed to look like that, but I saw the picture and I took it. So it kind of was a huge success at the end of the day, and I think a lot of people like it. So
I love photography like this, where you create these little happy accidents. So,
yeah,
as you described, it was literally someone throwing the blanket at him. So he wasn't
yeah,
dancing around with him, or with the
yeah.
blanket itself. That's very
Yeah, he's
interesting.
just
Okay,
throwing it.
so I assume many photos were taken on a day, hoping to find that one good shot.
Yeah. And it's kind of difficult to do that, because when you're taking moving pictures like this one,
Mm.
it's kind of like you're doing this, and I know this is frustrating for the model as well, because when it comes to moving pictures, it's a lot of throwing and or a lot of movement, and then the photographer sometimes don't catch the perfect picture, and it's like do it
Mm.
over again. I don't know, it's a lot of work. So yeah, it's at the end of the day, you have this one shot you work with that you are loving. So this is, I think, one of the shots that I'm very impressed with that I did
That
on
makes
that
it all
day.
worthwhile, eh?
Yes.
All right, so on topic with moving pictures, so you mentioned that you use a Godox MS200 200-watt strobe. Yeah, so that is able to freeze the shots as well. I don't know if you maybe remember your shutter speed, any other equipment that you used in order to grab a perfectly quote-unquote frozen shot.
Wow, I don't know if I can remember that one. I think I used a two light setup,
Mm-hmm.
if I can remember now. Um, yeah, I think it was a two light setup that I used. I can't remember specifically, but I think I used the same. I think it's the Godox MS200. I had two of those, so I think it was that. I'm not sure about the soft boxes I use,
Mm-hmm.
um, and the settings on the camera, but yeah.
So you use it MS200s. Do you find 200 watts sufficient for most work? Do you find yourself needing more power, or do you perfectly happy with the 200 watts?
I actually do have a Godox MS300, but
Mm-hmm.
in terms of lighting, it always depends on what the photographer wants out of the
Mm.
picture. So um, at the moment, I'm perfectly fine with what I'm using. I wouldn't say I would change. Maybe one day, if I feel like I need something else or I want to change my style a little bit, I would probably maybe upgrade to something else, maybe more power or something. But it depends on the photographer's work, what they want out of the picture.
Mm.
But I feel like the MS is doing a very good job at the moment.
Yeah, so you doing a very good job. Yeah, so the 200 watts, personally, I'm happy with the 200 watts as well. So in studio, if you need more power, the little trick you can do is just to boost your ISO. So going from ISO 100 to 200, you effectively turn your 200 watt strobes into 400 watt strobes. So
Yeah.
certainly indoor environment, 200 watts, certainly more than good enough for most applications.
Yeah, and the thing is, I have a little space.
Oops.
Oh, for
Oops, you're
me to
turning
get
upside down.
yeah, for me to get more light in here is kind of not kind of something I want because I only have a certain amount of light to use inside here, and I love using natural light as well. So um,
Okay, interesting.
it's kind of natural light and strobe at the same time. So um, yeah, it's not that I need more light because I have a small setup here and there's not much space. So I feel like the light that I use now is more than enough at this point.
All right, so we can ask a question about that. I don't know if you want to fix your camera quickly because it looks like you're Spider-Man hanging from a ceiling.
Really, let me just check something. um, how do I fix this now? Ooh,
Okay, let me try and pull you out and back in again. Let's see if that fixes
yeah.
it. Yeah, still upside down.
What?
I don't know if you have a setting just to flip the orientation, maybe.
Maybe I should leave and come back. Hold on quickly.
Okay, no problem. I'll keep your audience busy for the meantime. All right, so if you're still watching, I see we still have a nice crowd going. So we've covered many topics. So I don't know if you have any opinions to say, any questions to ask in the meantime, do drop them in the comment section. As I said, the reason why we do this live is to be interactive with you guys. Ah, that's perfect.
Okay. Think it was just a glitchy thing that was going on.
Yeah, it's never alive without a couple of gremlins, so don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what's next. Okay, so steering away from black and whites in a moment. So we have a nice, beautiful shot here in color. Yeah, what was the process here?
Okay, so this picture was I took this one last year. It was supposed to be for a wedding kind of vibe that I wanted to do, a
Mm-hmm.
studio for the bride, but she actually came to me because I was looking for someone that has a dress, which obviously she didn't get married that day, but then she came with a dress and we took pictures and stuff. It went well and so on. But then I think this editing was just that I uploaded it like I think 3 days ago or 2 days ago. Um, I was laying in my bed as I'm sick, so I was laying, and sometimes when I'm sick, I still love working. So I was just playing around with the editing, and this just popped up that I ended up ending editing this picture like this. But the setup for this basically was I had one of my strobes with the snoot at the back
Yeah,
of the model that was shining on top of her head here at the back. As you can see, there's light that's coming through there. And then I had one strobe in front, which is giving like a sun vibe from the back, kind of. I don't know how to
sure.
explain that, but kind of a vibe like let the hair kind of give like a shiny vibe kind of way. But the whole picture, yeah, came out like that. And then a few days ago, I edited like kind of like a sparking vibe and stuff. I know a lot of people don't like editing, but because I have a lot of people that gives feedback like, why did you take the picture just like that? Why did you have to edit the picture? But I
Mm.
actually love the vibe that it's giving the picture, and yeah, I ended up editing just a few here and there, and it came out like that. So
The image looks very angelic. So if you use of this has many names, the accent light, the room light, the halo light, it does give that halo appearance, that angelic
yes.
look around the hair, especially. So just to reiterate, you used an additional light source with a snoot at the back aimed directly
Yeah.
at the model to create that halo effect. And it looks stunning. Right, see what's next. All right, so I have a question before we continue. So, what do you think makes a good portrait?
I would say the model,
Hmm.
the model's expression, because um, when you look at the portrait, you look at the person's facial expression. That's the first thing you look
Yes.
at because that will tell the story of the portrait. So for me, it's always when I look exactly at the picture, like for instance, this portrait. Um, there was a lot of choices when I took this specific portrait, but this one stand out the most because of the facial expression. Um, so for me, it's more like the person's emotion it is giving to the picture, because then the person that's actually looking at the picture will give that kind of, that feeling. They know
Hmm.
what's going on in the picture. So for me, it's more like the emotion in the person's face. And I think, yeah.
All right. So, as a photographer, how do you get different facial expressions out of your model? So, in terms of not only posing, but obviously, you want the model to flourish as their own personality. So, you don't want to be too commanding or too direct with what
Yeah.
you want, but you want to create a space where, as I said, the model flourishes. So, do you have any tips and tricks as to how you approach that?
Um, Everyone that comes into my studio knows that I want them to feel comfortable,
Hmm.
be themselves, and just, I would never tell a person to be something else or do this
Yeah.
and do that, because at the end of the day, they're the person that's in the picture, they must feel the
Hmm.
most comfortable. And with, if I can use this picture now again, this is not actually a model. She just came and we did a shoot with the designer as well. So it's kind of like she just gave the vibe that she was
Hmm.
feeling. And the only thing I would change probably would be like I would tell the model like, okay, this doesn't look right, or we can try perhaps this. If you feel comfortable, you can do that. But yeah, it depends on the model itself, because I don't want people to feel or ever feel uncomfortable when they do a shoot. So yeah, I just want them to be themselves.
That's often as you put it, the non-models that are often the most fun to work with because
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but it's one of the top compliments a photographer can receive is when a person tells you, like, you've shown a different side of me or you've allowed me to show
yeah.
who I truly am as a person. As I said, that's probably one of the top compliments to receive. So to create a comfortable environment and just to have fun on the day and be a little bit direct here and there, but you want to allow the model to flourish in a space that you have created and for them to express who they truly are. Now, I think that is what a portrait is. So, yeah, perfect explanation from your side. Let's have a look at what's next. All right, I do love this one. So, question I have: how did you suspend the material? And a second, the styling choice here, the dark and gritty nature of the image. Was that a choice that you had beforehand, or was it just a case of trying out different things and this one stuck with you?
Okay, so this picture, yeah, this was also taken last year, if I'm correct now. So basically, it was I wanted to give a, I don't know, an African vibe. So
Mm-hmm.
what I actually wanted to create was more of the material to look kind of like it's flowing. So
Mm-hmm.
we tried a lot of different things with the shoot. I threw the I don't know how to explain this. It's not a blanket. It's kind of like a piece of material we used.
Yeah.
So we throw it and we used a lot of things with it, but didn't work out for me well. The other thing, so we tried stretching it more out, and um, I think if I remember now, we used like to clap it on, and I think a daughter actually helped me with this because she was
Nice.
handing on the one side holding, and I used the other clap thing to just like hold it upwards. And yeah, so it was kind of also like in this moment thinking. And then I think with the editing of this, it kind of, I wanted to give it like a dark look. So I made it more like a little bit darker skin because she has a lovely skin. So it's kind of,
Hmm.
I like the image just to give it a little bit more darkness. So I edit like the backdrop so it looks a little bit, I don't know how to explain this. I'm bad at explaining pictures,
No
but
worries.
I want I wanted it to look more bold, like let
Hmm.
she like stand out in a way. So I made the picture look little bit more darker by just taking the exposure a little bit down. Yeah, if I can explain it in that way.
That's
But yeah,
perfect
it
explanation.
was kind of like just an African vibe because
Hmm.
I like creating images like that, dark images.
Yeah, how do colors here complement one another? It's a single tone. It's a skin tone with a backdrop of a material all within one color, if I can put it like that. And it's a very striking photo. Let's see what's next. All right, so back to the black and whites. All right, so the little fuzziness down the side there, I don't know what you used in front of the lens to create that effect.
Okay, that was the foil thing. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the shoot I did with this model. It was supposed to do, I was supposed to do just the foil backdrop, but then I decided, okay, I want to do kind of a black and white, kind of like a glamorous type of shoot.
Yeah,
So the side of the photo, I took like the foil and I just placed it like kind of in front of the lens, and I
nice.
kind of let it more focus on her than on the piece of foil. So it kind of gives that vibe on the side.
So, how do you help out in terms of posing? I know we kind of covered facial expressions a little bit, but just to help out a model in terms of posing, like, do you have your methods as to get certain poses, or do you say a couple of things to allow the model just to flourish in that space?
At the beginning, I want the model to feel kind of firstly comfortable.
Hmm.
So because a lot of them come in here and they're like, okay, I don't know what to do. You must tell me, or I don't know how to model, or And then what I do is I let them first do a few moves and a few styles here and there, and then
Yes.
I'll tell them, okay, I think you should stand like this more, or we go on. I'm not a good, I would say, person to ask how to model because I normally go on Pinterest and see a few stuff that I think would work for the shoot because yeah, I go on Pinterest and then I'll tell, okay, let's try this. Or if I feel like I can do something with the model, I'll tell her use your hands more because I feel like using your hands in pictures kind of create
Mm.
also a nice vibe to the picture. So yeah, I usually tell them just to be themselves in front of the camera, and if I feel I need to change something, obviously I will tell them, okay, this will look better if you do this instead of that. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a good approach. So you said you download photos from Pinterest or wherever, and you show the model like do this, but also
yeah,
try and move around a little bit. So,
yeah,
try to pose, but switch it up. Instead of looking left, look right. Turn your body this way, turn your body that way. Hands up, hands down. So it's just about finding that foundation to work with
yeah.
on a post to post basis. Yeah, so it's a good idea to have some posing references handy just to show the model. As I said, it's very fun to work with the non-models because you get a version of them in the images as opposed to models who can, kind of give you different things on a whim. Like you don't always get the person behind the person itself in a manner of speaking. So working with non-models is very fascinating. All right, let's see here. Next up. All right, so do you want to tell us about this photo?
Okay, this photo is actually my brother in that picture.
Oh, okay,
So that
cool.
so they wanted to do like a band shoot for their music, and I actually didn't know what I was doing on that day. So that's also one light setup. But I like the stripes, kind of black and white stripes that they had on with
Yes.
the black shoes and the black cap. So I was thinking, okay, red backdrop and all that, it would look very, very nice. So that was also in a moment thinking of, yeah, black and white would go perfectly well with the red backdrop.
It is a composition trick to have patterns against a solid backdrop or
Yeah.
vice versa. So as a means of allowing your subject to stick out a little bit, yeah, so you can work with patterns and a solid backdrop as well, or vice versa, as I said. Yeah, so some very clever moves here. In terms of lighting, was the light placed to the side? Because I can see the side of your brother's face is illuminated. So do you
Yeah,
recall the positioning of the light?
it's on the. I normally tell the models to turn to the side of the light, so I think yeah,
Mm.
that was on the left side of the picture.
That's a stunning backdrop as well. If I recall, it's called for crimson, maybe for crimson red. So it's a
Yes, I
pinkish
actually,
red color. Yeah, I like
I
it.
bought it at CameraStuff. So
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. All right. So we have some images of you busy working. So I have some questions to ask. So I think in today's social landscape, with social media being so dominant, do you think it's good advice to do things on a content creation side of things? So to display the behind the scene images and also to display bits and pieces of you as a personality to your audiences as well, as opposed to just the photos. That's the traditional way of doing things where you have the results as part of your portfolio. But because of social media becoming a bit more personality based and a bit more interactive as well. So, do you think it's a good idea to have bits and pieces of you displayed in your portfolios as well and your social medias, obviously, as well?
Um, I don't, to be honest, I don't really like posting about myself or, yeah. But sometimes I feel like people have to see like what the behind the scenes look like,
Mm.
and I want people to see how my setup looks because I know a lot of photographers out there. There are actually photographers that ask me, "How do you feel so comfortable to post your setup?"
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Because yeah, because a lot of them think like they think different. They think always like, yeah, if you post your setup, somebody else is going to steal how you basically take pictures or your
Mm.
style or anything. Well, in that case, I like showing people what I do behind the scenes because at the end of the day, like I told you, I like to inspire artists and I would say
Yes.
photographers and stuff. So a lot of people look at the pictures and yeah, it's always nice to have behind the scenes as well so that people can see how you work as well. Um, yeah, and how the setup looks because yeah, you can't just show pictures and people don't know how the behind the scenes look or how your studio
Mm.
looks. So yeah, I think it's very important to show your setup so that people can see.
I think what this shows as well, it shows your photo shoots as an event, right? So it's not just the pictures that you're getting, but it's the entire process from A to Z. It's getting to the location, wardrobe choices, getting the models involved in terms of the concepts as well. And yeah, people like to get involved in that sense and to see the behind
Yeah,
the scene pictures. Just in a way advertises your shoots as an event as opposed to just a
yeah,
photo shoot. I think that's integral to us as photographers, how we need to go about advertising ourselves,
yeah,
not just as photographers, but to do a service. But the best way I could describe it is as an event, right? So the photo shoot needs
yeah.
to be an event for our clients. All right, we have you here busy as well. Do you want to explain what happened here?
Okay, so, the thing is that is actually um, she's a rapper from Woolsey, and that's actually not someone. I think it's a manager or something, and he was actually helping me that day to move things around and stuff. Um, Let me say a right hand in a way. So what happened is I sometimes like to take pictures like with my clients or whoever that comes, like kind of like a picture I can post online sometimes or just
Mm.
behind the scenes as well. So we were actually just busy taking like a picture where we're all standing together and he really actually fell on the ground. So we were all laughing about it, but
Gosh.
yeah, so that actually really happened. But it was a funny picture, and I like sharing, like, because I'm not a serious person, so I like all the happiness inside of my studio
Of
and
course,
that
yeah.
people be happy and laughing. So it was a funny moment, and yeah, I had to share it on my profile.
I think these are the moments that our clients take away as well. The entire
Yeah.
experience. And as I said just a few moments ago, the event itself. So it's not just about getting the results with photos done, but you want your clients to have some happy memories and a good experience with the photo shoot as well.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to pull that out. So I have, whoa, we are an hour in. So, yeah, so time flew. So I have two more questions to ask, unless the
Okay.
audience, so people are still watching. We have a chunk of people still watching. So if you have any questions, people out there in Facebook and YouTube land, drop them down in the comment section because we are kind of nearing the end of the interview. So if you have anything to ask, yeah, now's your moment. But in the meantime, I have a question. Can you tell us about a memorable or rewarding experience that you had with one or two photo shoots and why it stuck out?
Um, I would say probably at the moment is being featured and in magazines and stuff, because my I would say one of my dreams and goals is to um, get featured in big magazines and stuff,
Mm.
in obviously in fashion magazines and stuff. So yeah, I would say at this moment my biggest reward at this point was, I think if I can remember now, it was, I think, 2 days ago, a few days ago, I had a model here with me. Her name is Tamia, and I saw kind of talent in her, and I, how can I explain this? It made me very happy because, in a way, I've gotten kind of like a reward because she is like a beginner and she's still young. She's a model
Mm-hmm.
that just started her career, and to actually see her feature in a magazine international was for me kind of like a big thing, because to see her face and how happy she is to see her actually in
Mm.
this magazine and how she was looking when she saw herself there. It was kind of like, I think for this year, it's kind of the hype thing for me. So yeah, I would say at this moment that is kind of the top thing for me.
Now, that's certainly rewarding to kind of supply stepping stones for your models as well. So having pleasant experiences with you kind of, yeah, in a way propels them to, awesome things in the future as well. So that's also, from my point of view, very rewarding as well if you can be, help people out in the process as well. That's a very good answer there. All right. So last question I have is, well, sorry, two questions. Um, what what do you have planned for the next, let's say, 2 to 3 years? What's in the pipeline?
Um, Everyone's going to laugh now, but I'm actually working very very hard at the moment to get my work in at Vogue, because
Mm.
I think that is one of my biggest dream and achievements that I want to achieve one day, is to get my work into one of the biggest, I would say, fashion magazines in the world. Um, and yeah, I think that is one of the things, and I think in the next 3 years, say.
Uh-oh. Seems like we lost Leslie. So I'm just going to give it a moment or two. Hopefully she will come back. I think here she is. Okay, still struggling with the visuals, but yeah, as I said, just give it a moment. Certain she'll pop back in. In the meantime, yeah, thank you for your questions. I see a couple. Yeah, we'll get to them in a mo. Hello again.
Oh,
Don't worry, it's all fixed. All right. So I don't know if you want to finish what you said about Vogue magazine. Oh, can't hear. Maybe try out settings. I obviously can't hear. Let me try sending you a message. That better? Can hear some crackling. Can't hear me. Maybe try some settings below. I will fix it now in a moment. Hello, that better? Still not. Can you say something? I can hear you. Okay, in the meantime, I just want to comment on this one. So I came home late and missed most of the interview. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So everything will be on YouTube afterwards. So if you want to catch this interview from the beginning, just pop on to CameraStuff, the YouTube channel. So everything will be there from from the beginning. So if you want to catch up, this video will be on CameraStuff's YouTube channel. Okay, so the gremlins are persisting as it seems. Test, test, 1, 2. Still audio. Okay, I think what we can do, I think we got a good chunk of the interview done already. So yeah, a complete hour in. So maybe we can call it quits, having the gremlins now. So yeah, it's unfortunate we couldn't get any closing statements. But I think, yeah, we can call it quits. So hopefully you enjoyed the interview with Leslie. So sorry for the gremlins at the end. But yeah, these things happen with lives. So I think we can, say our goodbyes. I'm just going to make sure Leslie knows what I'm planning to do. Just hold on. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Yep. So again, apologies for the grimness at the end. There was one or two with these live videos. Okay, I'm going to try one more time. That better? Testing 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Test, test. Not okay. All right. So I think we're going to say our goodbyes now. So we can call it quits. Is that fine? Perfect. All right. So on behalf of Leslie, thank you for joining tonight. It was a fantastic interview. If you want to follow Leslie, do check out the links in the comments. So Instagram, website, and Facebook, etc. And you can follow Leslie and see what she gets up to in the future. And also if you want to see some of her past work as well. So a fantastic photographer, fantastic interview as well. So from my side, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff, thank you for joining tonight. And do check out our Facebook and our YouTube if you want to catch some future interviews as well. So that's it from my side. Hope you have a pleasant night further. Cheerios and goodbye. Maybe you can get Leslie just to wave goodbye. Come on, give us a wave. That's it.